think one of the biggest myths that I always meet with when parents come into my clinic is the first questions they always ask me is that, will my child ever be normal again? So the next question I ask them is that, can you tell me in what ways is the child abnormal? And they will tell us that, for example, they can't regulate their emotions properly and all that. My reply to them is always that every child with or without special needs always will have some form of emotion dysregulation. The difference is the pace of development, and how their brain respond to what is happening to them. So like I said earlier on in the first question, a child with special needs might have more sensory issues, or might have more problem with understanding what is happening around him, either because of sensory issues or because of language and communication issues. Those are not things that make him abnormal. Those are just challenges that he has, so he's different. And because of this, we need to help the children process the language of the environment and also how societal norms are. And societal norms function based on majority, right? So if you are a minority, you will have to understand the majority culture. So it goes both ways. In other words, we're not talking about normalizing the child. We're talking about helping the child understand how a majority culture functions. And when we are in this society of a different culture, what we should be doing in order to get our needs met, in order to communicate to them what we want, what we can do, how things should be done. But on the other hand, I think we also need to educate the masses, like dispelling the myths, that these kids are not being deliberately destructive, they are not being difficult, but they need to understand their world in the language they speak, so that the masses will also start to understand that, hey, I need to communicate to them on their terms, right? It's like you cannot go to a 2-year-old or 3-year-old and start using gigantic words on them. They will not understand. You need to simplify and speak in the language they understand. So it's the same way when we help children with special needs. So this is one of the things that is commonly, I think it is something that is very widespread, that people always think that, you have special needs. It's like I had a student who had autism. He always don't like to let people know that he has this condition. And it happened because he told me the incident. He said that because they were in the lift, he was actually very happy. He was in this particular special needs school. And then somebody come along, one of the neighbors saw his school crest, and it dawned upon him that people see him as different or abnormal because they asked the mother one question: what is wrong with him? He's very high functioning, he's actually in university now. So he said that at that point in time he suddenly realized that, hey, people are saying that there's something wrong with me, but I don't feel there's something wrong with me. Why do people say that there's something wrong with me? That's the kind of misconception and the judgment we have. So we always think that we have to tread on eggshells when you're around them. Actually, they want to be treated like anybody else, right? It's just that we have to understand that sometimes they get overwhelmed easier than us. Okay, that's one of the myths. And the other one would be medication. When there's a very difficult child, when the child is very aggressive, when the child is non-cooperative, let's medicate them. I'm not against medication. I see the function and the purpose. When there is a need to, sometimes we have to, because it is a hormonal imbalance. My own child was on medication for a while, but now he's weaning it off. But the important thing is that we have to recognize that the medication does not solve the problem. The medication normalizes the hormonal disturbances in the brain, and it helps the person to be calmer, more cooperative. But what will help the person move on is intervention, is therapy, is skills training. So we're not talking about just going for talk, feeling very relieved after they are burdened to somebody. It's also equipping the child with the skills to be able to process their own thoughts, to be able to help themselves, to be able to understand why they are facing certain challenges, to be able to advocate for themselves, to be able to tell others, explain to others around them why sometimes certain things will trigger them, or even asking for help in very positive ways. Okay, that's the second thing. Another myth would be parents tend to overcompensate, especially kids. They have kids with very high support needs. They will think that, the child needs me to do everything. I have to protect the child. I cannot teach the child or certain things. I cannot let the child go out because the child can be easily deceived by other people. Let's put it this way, every one of us can be easily deceived by anybody. I think the important thing is that because they have special needs, it does not mean that they are not trainable. It does not mean that they cannot take care of themselves. But what they need is they need even more training. They need you to understand how their brain function so that you can help them and train them in the way that they understand. Then they can gain independence. Then they can gain the skills to be able to go take a bus, find their way around things, order food for themselves. So they are fully capable, even if you talk about somebody who is non-verbal, right? It's about giving them the assistive technology, especially these days, it's very easy. It's not like in the past. And helping them and teaching them how to go to a hawker center, a food court, and how to order food, how to make payment, how to take a bus. Is really preparing them for life. Okay, so all these are possible. It does not mean that when you have a child with special needs, then you are doomed. You have to take care of them for life. Then eventually, if you go off, it is the responsibility of the sibling. No, it doesn't go this way. It just means that you have to take more care into looking at how to help the child, how to train the child, and actually have a plan to help the child to gain independence, from school to work to eventually having a home by himself.